Welcome to the CANDU Sports Show. We're back. This is episode 4. Got your hosts here, Donray Bennett and Scott Blair here, and so glad you're able to join us. And there is so much to talk about. Yeah, he's rocking that Michigan swag. How you feeling? How you feeling?
I'm feeling as good as a national championship fan can feel on this lovely day. No, I'm feeling good. I'm just happy for my health. Woke up today, get to spend some time with the Hall of Fame coach that is Scott Blair. So I'm excited.
Appreciate you. Listen, we should take a step back. So we're excited to have our fourth episode, everyone. We know we've got some folks watching. Going back to our first episode a few weeks ago. We met as friends in college, right? And I remember probably the first time we met. Did you own that jacket back then? I think you did. Oh, you had
No,
one
I
similar
had
to
one.
it.
I had one like it. Yes, I had one
Okay.
just like it. But this one, no, this one
Okay.
actually was a gift. A gift.
I remember it was a
hmm
little shinier blue, I think. I think it was a shinier blue jacket.
It was almost like if you remember the old chalk line
Yeah.
ones, it was kind of like that. This
Yeah.
one actually, uh, believe it or not, is our fallen brother that we paid tribute to
Oh,
in episode 2, for being in his wedding. Was my gift.
oh,
And
that's
so he
cool.
got me this. It's like an old throwback, kind of got like the Adidas old school feel,
Yeah.
you know. It's got the really, I mean, you got to be
Oh, the
around in the
classic
40s
logo.
to know the classic, which was way, way back when. So I love it. And it's only right I busted out for this occasion, you know.
Oh, let's do it. So let's talk about it, right? So we got a couple of hot topics. There's so much. Here we are, January 10th. We had a little bit of a break with the New Year's and such, but we've got the national championship. We've got the breaking news that Nick Saban is retiring. We've got a hot stove of NFL coaches. And then, of course, we've got the NFL playoffs right around the horizon. So, yeah, let's talk about hail to the victors. Listen, our listeners know I got an affinity for Michigan just because they got my quarterback, Jim Harbaugh. I'm sad that he's not going to be able to coach my Bears now with some of the news that came out of Chicago today, but that's a topic for a little bit later. So chop it up. What's your hot take? An amazing, um, just they destroyed Washington. I mean, it was close in the first half, but then they just dominated the second half.
Listen, Michigan's defense was the best in the nation this year, and they showed it again, not only against Alabama, but then again against Washington. Um, they are a throwback, if you want to call 20 years ago a throwback to a team that can um,
Big Ten football, the classic Big Ten football,
right.
right?
They classic Big Ten football. The only thing was they weren't lining up in an I formation, but the reality was they
I
controlled
miss
the
those
ball,
days.
and their defense really dictated what Penix and those boys could
Mhm.
do. That front four, the type of pressure they got without, they only had one sack on the day, but you couldn't. I couldn't believe that at the because they were in his face all day. Everything was rushed, or the pick was even, he got bounced into. So the pressure that they could get with four, um, it was amazing. And then offensively, I mean, to your point, I mean, you called it, how good is McCarthy and what that's what you were asking.
Mhm.
He did what he needed to do. I
Yeah.
mean, he took care of the ball, no picks, and as a result, the run game did what they need to do. Two 100-yard rushers in the game. I mean, but
303 yards rushing on the whole game.
absolutely.
Unbelievable.
Now, credit to Washington, because as lopsided as that first quarter was, I mean, the second half, at least through the third quarter, it was a
Yeah.
game.
Yeah, that's true.
And they had their chances. He missed that one pass, and there's a couple phantom calls or no calls
Yeah,
against Michigan that went Michigan's way that could have been game changers. So it
that's
was a
fair.
blowout,
That's fair.
and Michigan did control it from the beginning. Don't get it twisted, but Washington hung in there, and when it was
Yeah.
a one possession game in the third quarter, and they had the rock. I mean, they made a game of it where they could. So that's a good team over there. But those hogs up front on both lines for Michigan, go up against anybody in the nation, and I'm
Yeah.
just so glad they got to take out the legend that is Saban before he went, so that
Yeah.
there's no. They played who they needed to play. Had they beaten FSU,
Mm,
with a third string quarterback, and
yeah,
then Washington, people would have been,
shade.
calling it a fake championship and whatnot. So I'm glad it happened the way it did.
Yeah, that's a good point because not only do you beat Saban, but it's the fact that Saban's team, their previous game, they beat Georgia, who was undefeated for what? How many? 600 and some days, or whatever the heck it was. So
Yeah,
yeah,
right.
and we should talk just for a hot second, right? The fact that we have an undefeated national champion. This is the first Big Ten national champion with the playoff format since the first playoff, which was what I think 2014 or something like that, when Ohio State
I think
won.
so.
So yeah,
Cordell,
yeah. So
not
each national
Patterson.
champion. Oh yeah, you know who it is. Yeah.
Court was it? I was
Ah,
in Columbus. It was my first year,
yeah.
second
You were
year there.
living
I'm like,
there.
are you kidding me? It
Ooh,
was their backup quarterback, the big guy. He ended up getting drafted as a result. What the Cordell?
didn't he play for Washington?
He got drafted by yes, was it no, Haskins got
No, it
drafted
wasn't
by
Haskins.
Washington. No, I'm saying what
We'll get
Haskins
it.
got drafted
We'll
by,
figure it out.
yeah, let's
We'll figure it out.
core I can see him right now. Big
Our Ohio
pretty
State
boy.
fans got to help us out here. But they
Yeah.
won the first, and then everything else has been SEC and ACC, and now they're there. And this is the last one, right? So moving forward, we shouldn't have, knock on wood, as much drama because now we're going to have 12 teams. And so that's going to help things a little bit. Although now we're going to have a gargantuan Big Ten conference, which will include Washington. So here you've got
Uh,
a cool little rivalry that maybe could get hatched because of this game. Maybe not. I
that
hate,
and
yeah. I think you and I agree
I
with,
I just can't get down with. I'm glad this is happening, but they are just absolutely spitting in the face of the term student athlete. Like, there's
yeah,
no way you're flying across. I mean, think about the baseball and these other sports where you're going there for a couple of days. I mean, you're going across country,
yeah.
then you got to come back. Come on, what are we
And
talking
it's
about?
not
It's
like
so
we're talking
ridiculous.
about you're flying from Los Angeles to New York City. You're flying from State College, who has a airport that's about the size of this piece of paper in front of me, right? I mean, nothing but love for State College. I cheer for the Nittany Lions, but seriously, right?
Yeah.
I think they got to fly out of Harrisburg, which is an hour and a half away. Like, yeah, so just to think about that with respect to the student athletes. But let's go back to the topic, right? Like,
Well, hold
this
on,
is,
and then the
oh,
last
go
piece,
ahead.
you got to fly back, and when you get back on Monday or whatnot, are you going to class still adjusting to the 3 hour? I mean, come
Yeah,
on,
yeah.
it's ridiculous. Cardell Jones, by the way.
Cardell, thank you. Okay. So that's what's going to be ahead of us now. But again, Michigan, the undefeated champion, first one for the Big Ten in a while. And the fact that they went undefeated with their head coach out for 6 games is a testament to those seniors, to those upperclassmen.
Absolutely,
Just salute. And again, Jim Harbaugh, my quarterback. I grew up watching him rocking the Chicago Bear #4. So I'm glad he's got the chip. His dad won one. His brother, of course, has a Super Bowl championship. So now, as he said, he gets to sit at the big, the big person table now at the holidays. So good for him.
that's awesome. Yeah, good for
Yeah,
him. Congrats to the maize and blue country out there and the fans and the. It's been a long wait.
it's been
So
a while.
97 was a long time ago, and even that one had an asterisk. So,
Oof.
shout out to the
All
whole
those, all those '90s ones,
range.
man. Like Penn
Yeah,
State got robbed of one. I mean, a whole bunch of pretty much every year there was
yeah.
a question
We're
mark.
the
So.
AP champ or the USA Today champ. What are we talking about?
Anyone under the age of 35 is like, wait, what? What are you talking about?
Yeah.
So, yeah, that was the thing. Look it up,
Yeah.
kids. So, all right, now let's move over to let's spend a minute to honor. I think you and I are in agreement on this. The best college football coach of all time, at least I believe so, and that's Nick Saban. Just can't believe he's retired. So, what are you thinking on that?
You know, mixed feelings. I mean, I think there's going to be a mass exodus of these guys who are not going to want to deal with the
Yeah,
headaches of
yeah.
NIL and whatnot that's coming from it. Um,
We
but
saw it
I mean,
in we,
kudos
we
to
we've
him.
seen it with basketball, right? Roy
Absolutely,
Williams and I think even
absolutely.
Jay Wright may have alluded to it.
It
So
that's exactly. Yep, absolutely. So, it's a matter of time if we're, even like Debo, Sweeney, who hasn't really been around as quite as long. I'm sure he's been coaching nearly as long, but it's just the frustrations mounting. Um, and I'm sure that the paychecks come in just as nicely if you're in the administration or some consulting type piece, and you can get around the country doing that. So, but to focus more on him, love him or hate him. I mean, if you're a hater like I am, I'm not a hater. I've learned to appreciate greatness when it's in front of me, which is something I did not do as a child. I hated Jordan and I couldn't appreciate Kobe. And it wasn't until afterwards that I was like, oh, they were amazing. I got to see the best ever. Um, I should have said that. Now you're going to go run off with that in the LeBron
So I'll leave it
debate.
alone. I'm not
But
going to touch the Jordan LeBron this episode. We'll leave
but
it
we're going to
alone.
give him his flower. Yeah, please. We're going to give him his flowers while we can. I mean, the man absolutely dominated college football from recruiting to execution. He had the Bill Belichick effect where his assistants were going everywhere every year. He had a
Yeah.
new coordinator, new offense coordinator, new defense coordinator, and then those assistants. Some had some success, but a lot of them didn't fare as well and ended up right back on his staff. It's like, the players and staff of Belichick who seem amazing, go somewhere, steal money, come back and are amazing again. It's a testament to his leadership and what they were able to do down there over the last decade plus. Phenomenal. And we forget what he did at Michigan State. I mean, his
Yeah.
little, NFL John was a stain, but quickly forgot about that once he had that success in Alabama. But as a Michigan fan, I remember the terror that he was at Michigan State
Yeah.
as well. I mean, the guy's a winner, and he's going to be missed. I'm sure they have a succession plan that is, probably very. They have the pick of the litter considering
Man.
what the state that he's leaving them in.
Right.
So, great man. I didn't always agree with what he said or how he said it or even his philosophy in general, but can't knock the Hall of Famer, and I would say with you, the best that we've ever seen.
I'm with that. I'm going to miss his interviews. There's something about, take a look at some of those interviews, right? The way he'd be doing it, and then he'd just be kind of like talking right into the camera. He just had this way. It was kind of awkward, but also kind of fun at the same time, just because it was different. That bit from a couple years ago where I think it was Eli Manning went down to visit him at his summer house, and
Uh,
right, remember the whole Little Debbie routine with a cup of coffee,
yes,
right?
yes,
And then Eli
yes.
Manning pulls out a Little Debbie snack cake, and as soon as he like pulls it out, you can just see Nick Saban like honing in on it, like, I want that right now. It's like, okay, you clearly like those. As a
Yeah,
kid, I like those myself. They're not too bad, especially with a cup of
yeah.
coffee. But listen, I agree with you. What he's done, actually, my first college football game I ever saw in person, shout out Steve Dolak. We went together, was a Penn State, Michigan State game, and Saban was the coach at
Okay.
Michigan State. So yeah, amazing program. Of course, his excellence at LSU. Um, there's that thing with the Dolphins, that kind of happened.
Hmm.
But then with Alabama, I've never liked Alabama, and just Alabama has a complicated history for a lot of people, right? Governor Wallace,
Hmm.
segregation now, segregation forever. Like, I'm always going to have side eye to anything that comes out of Alabama because of that complicated history in the 60s. But Saban, as a coach, we're talking about sports. He brought back a program that was pretty irrelevant, right? Pretty irrelevant.
Yep,
Um,
absolutely.
and they became the gold standard. So that's a testament to him. I love watching his clips, and he's kind of that old school coach, and those ways of coaching are kind of going away. He was able to blend some new with some of that old, and
Mm.
that tip of the cap because we're losing them, right? I mean, there's not many of them left. You got
I
Tom Izzo still
I
hanging
know.
out in the NCAA for men's basketball. Gino Auriemma is still out there in the women's game. But Muffin McGraw's gone. Like all these
Yep.
amazing,
It,
we're
I mean,
losing them. They're retiring. So
we really are. I mean, we really got to start to appreciate, if we're not already, the folks in this tree who are really doing it.
mhm.
Well, obviously Kirby Smart. I mean, that's the
The new
newest
wave, yeah,
standard that's out
yeah.
there. But it's
Debo too,
it's
yeah.
but even his leadership style, you'll see is slightly
It's
it's
different.
still it's different.
Yeah.
It's great. It's what's needed now. That's why he's so successful. And Saban still has what we saw, and you're right though. It's a dying breed, and so it's sad to see him go. Um, but that's we're getting old,
Yeah. I
Scott. I mean, that's what
know.
it
Don't
comes
be
down
doing
to.
that. Don't be doing
That's what it
that.
comes down to.
Yeah, it's true. That's true.
It's sad, but
Yeah, but we got exciting new talent. We got the Don Staleys and everything else, which is amazing.
that's right.
So, yeah,
Absolutely.
good stuff. All right, this is good to be able to be on here. This is a good look to be able to have these convos, be in here, chop this up. This is a good look.
Amen.
So, we
Amen.
want to jump to the NFL now?
Yeah, why don't we start with you? I mean, you have your a good your finger
Hmm.
on the pulse here, and quite frankly, I couldn't even keep up with everything. Even you
Oh,
mentioning the news about the Bears, I'm like, wait, what are we talking about here? I mean, I know about obviously with Carol today and whatnot, but
oh yeah, Pete
what
Carroll.
what 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 surprised you? What did you see coming, and what do you think is still to come?
Okay, I'm gonna do. Let me give you two that didn't surprise me, and then I'm going to give you a Bears hot take, I guess. So I was not surprised by the Pete Carroll news. I just think 72 years old, amazing run. Again, talk about another program that was down in the dumps, right? The Seahawks were irrelevant since Dave Craig and Steve Largent. And
Yeah.
those uniforms were pretty ugly too. I didn't like the classic Seahawks. I like what they have now, minus
Yeah.
the highlighter green ones that they have. Um, and they got a chip. I mean, Holmgren, hold on. Holmgren brought them to respectability
They
too. Sean
they won.
Alexander.
Yeah.
Yeah, so my bad, my bad. But they got that chip and everything else. But I just think, yeah, I just feel like it ran its course. He gave it that run with Geno Smith. And I just think it's time. I'm going to miss his free spirit. I love his California vibes. There was a clip last year, I think, that they were coming off the field during like mini camp, and you see like Geno Smith is having fun. You got players coming in, and you got Pete Carroll on a scooter. Like it just looked like a pretty cool place to just hang out and play football. I was not surprised by Vrabel and the Titans, so that might shock you.
Wow.
Yeah,
Yes.
I wasn't surprised. And it's just from when you look at the way the team is constructed, I'm thinking that as an organization, they want to play a different way. And the way that they had been playing since Vrabel got there, the last, what, 5, 6 years, I think going back to like
Mhm.
2018, 2017, it's run its course. Derrick Henry's not coming back. Tannehill's done. You've got a new rookie now, second year quarterback with Will Levis, and you got to rebuild. And I'm guessing they probably don't want to play ground and pound. They want to probably sling the rock and they have a new GM, I think, too. So not surprised by
Mhm.
that. Um, I'm wondering, what's going to happen with Belichick. I think the New England statement should be similar to what the Seattle Seahawks had with Carroll, right? Honor the legacy, amazing contribution. But Bill Belichick is like 8, 9. I got to look at the stats, but he's only a few wins away from surpassing Shula for all-time wins. So that's going to be interesting to see how that is.
Mhm.
Okay, let me talk about the Bears for a minute. I'm glad they gave Eberflus a chance because I didn't think he was the guy. He doesn't give great press conferences. He's kind of awkward when he talks sometimes. But he clearly got that defense rolling once they got Montez Sweat. They turned into like a top 10 unit. It was the offense. There have been so many analysts who would break down the offense and say, your offensive coordinator. I mean, the Tampa Bay game, they ran the same play 3 times in the last possession they had, right? Like, how are you going to retain an offensive coordinator where the other team, they're like, how did you intercept it? They're like, well, they ran the same play 2 times before that. Like the previous two,
They're playing Tecmo Bowl. They only got four choices.
right? Like, what are you doing? Meanwhile,
Uh,
you see, and for me, I've always been frustrated by the fact that Justin Fields, his first year, when Matt Nagy clearly didn't know what he was doing, he was still out there trying to do what he could. He had an amazing game against the Steelers. And then I know you and I talked about this last year, right? The Eagles, one of the toughest games they had all year was against the Bears, and they didn't have anybody.
absolutely.
But Fields was out there tearing it up. They put up 30
Absolutely.
plus points against the Dolphins last year, and we didn't see any of that until you got halfway through the season. Like, what? Fields shows he's capable. I think it's a game plan. And I think based on the decision today saying offensive staff is all gone, I think shows that. I think they keep Fields. They're going to get a boatload of picks if they trade down with Washington or New England at 2 or 3, which I think is what they're going to do. Who knows? We could see something we've never seen, which is trading down twice. I can see that scenario. They trade with Washington. Washington goes and gets Caleb Williams, and I could see New England trading up because they want to get Drake May, and then the Bears are at 3. They will have 2 picks next year,
Mm.
and then they'll have their own pick too next year in the first round. They could possibly, if that's what happens, have 3 first-round picks next year. So I say all that because this whole conversation of, well, you need to decide Fields or this, no, they can wait till next year. They could be in the same exact position next year. So if things don't work out, they'll fire the whole staff, they'll get rid of Fields, and then they'll reboot then. But you'll still have all these tools and weapons there with the DJ Moores and maybe the Marvin Harrison Juniors and, kind of go down the list. So that's my hot take.
Wow.
What you
Wow.
got?
Well, I was surprised.
Hold
Well,
on. I got to add this. I think they're going to hire Frank Reich too.
who for
The
your offensive
Bears.
coordinator?
The Bears. I think they're going to bring Frank Reich in.
Uh,
Yes.
I think
I
they
know that's your
may.
boy. I know that's your boy. But
I think he may be coming back to Philly. I mean, that's forget about my boy. That's Sirianni's boy.
that's our boy,
Sirianni gave
right? Andre Reed,
Sirianni.
repping that big comeback, Buffalo
There you
Bills.
go. That's right. But Sirianni, he gave Sirianni a shot. Sirianni's going to return the favor. Um, now, um, the one Vrabel did surprise me just because he seems like a guy that is well liked in the locker room by appreciated by players and things of that nature.
True,
And they
true.
played well under him. They came up short, of course, but I've never been huge on a Tannehill bandwagon. He was a wide receiver who all of a sudden was a top 5 quarterback pick, which to me I never understood to this
Wait, he
day.
was a wide receiver?
He was
Really? I didn't know
converted
that.
to a quarterback
I didn't
at
know that.
A&M. I don't know what year it was. I don't. He didn't come in. I think he came in
Okay.
as a wide receiver.
I did not know
Um,
that.
B Web on our next
Okay.
episode can, or I'm
Chop
sure
that
this is
up.
the best part, right? When I watch podcasts or anything like that, as they're happening live or being recorded, like they got to know that someone's in the comments right now, like, oh no, that's wrong. So right there, someone's surely going to correct me if I'm
That's
inaccurate. But
true.
here's what I'll say. I'll jump. I'm going to excuse everything else that you stated. Wink Martindale.
Oh, that was a mess.
What in the world? So for those who
Wow.
don't know, it's been reported he and Dabo, the bowl, how do you
Brian
pronounce
Dable. Brian
it?
Dable.
Dable, head coach of the Giants, butted heads. And when they will let go of 2 of his assistants, he said, "That's it, I'm out,"
Cussed him out and
and
everything.
cursed them out and bounced. And so apparently there's a little bit of a mutiny going on in there over the year or whatnot. They felt like they didn't have to answer to him. I don't know what's true and what's not. I'm not in the locker room. What I will say is during the year, and the last couple of times we faced the Giants, Eagles twice in the last 3 games or 4 games. Um, Jason Kelsey, along with others, talked about the
Yeah.
nightmare that it is preparing
The
for his
Giants.
defense.
Yeah.
And the fact is I've seen it over and over. And while they weren't a good defense this year, a lot of that probably has to do with talent and the other dysfunction going on in that organization.
Right.
We're in need of a defensive. I mean, I know this year isn't over, right? We win a Super Bowl, then you can't switch coordinators. But I tell you what, he's going to be I think he's going to be coveted.
Yeah.
Um,
They
and
had good
and
schemes.
And just like Bradbury, who better to stick it to your former employee? Like if you really dislike this guy that much, why go anywhere else then? Right down 95
Yeah.
and give him heathens for
Get
the
in the
next
business.
twice a year for the next 5 to 10.
Could you
So
imagine him
oof, our
with your
talent,
line? Oh my God. With
oh
Hassan
my
Reddick? Are you kidding me? Right? That's Hassan, right? Yeah.
man, Hassan Reddick on one end with Jordan
Oh,
Davis but first of all, look, that's the best part about our defense is yes, we got some old heads who are holding it down in Fletcher uh, um, and Fletcher Cox and then Brandon Graham, but we've got so many young guys up there. We've got most likely the defensive rookie of the year, at least by most standards. We've got a guy
he's
he's only in
fallen
his
off a little
second
bit,
year.
but yeah.
dominate. Yeah, I mean he got worn
Yeah, that's
down.
fair.
We had some injuries and he had to play some extra snaps, but I fully expect them to be geared up and ready to go.
Yeah,
All that to say that there's some youth and some talent and he'll make sure guys in the secondary are tackling and not throwing their bodies around. And he also creates schemes to disguise. I don't know if the Eagles know what that is, to disguise coverages, which
yeah,
can result in turnovers. And if you have the talent, can result in turnovers. So that's the one I'm focusing in on, hyper focused. The other
yeah,
changes, like you said, they were coming. Ron Rivera going.
yeah.
Um,
Chico,
was
much
in
respect, 85 Bears.
right. Inevitable. The only Latino that's out there running things. So hopefully he lands somewhere where he can get some
We
work
need a
done.
defensive coordinator in Chicago. Come home. Come
Yeah,
home, Ron
that's
Rivera.
hey, that's
He runs the
that's
same
can
scheme. He likes to
that's
run that
very possible.
well 4-3
So,
front. So
um, but other than that, I mean, I'd like to see the Raiders retain Pierce
yeah.
just to see. I mean, they couldn't
Where's
have
Harbaugh
played better
going?
than they did under him. Stop it. Stop it.
Come on. Where is he
If
going?
if if Harbaugh leaves, which I don't think he does, if
When?
he goes, he's going to have to. They're going to have to give him keys. He's got to have GM type keys.
Yeah.
So where is that? So you're talking about Tennessee. If Tennessee gets rid of I mean, where is it going to happen? I mean, I don't know. I can't see him going anywhere, to be honest. But if he goes, and I have to guess somewhere, I think he's following. He's. I don't think he goes to a terrible organization. I think his experience in San Francisco, he can step in and win. So I think he goes to like maybe a New England if it's available, where they already have experience of a coach running GM, having GM responsibilities. So maybe they find a happy medium where he has some say, but not as much as Belichick had. That's if Belichick is gone, or Seattle,
That's the
staying in that
pick.
the
That's the
NFC
pick.
West, having knowing been a part of that, being in the NFC West for his years there. But I don't see him going. So let's stop this conversation.
Okay, that's fair. I think he's leaving. I think the NCAA is after him. I think he wants to win a Super Bowl. Um,
Yeah, you're
I
probably right. It's wishful thinking on my part, I know.
I would like him to stay because I enjoy. I'm a Penn State guy, kind of, but again, anywhere Jim Harbaugh is, I'm going to cheer for it just because, like I said
Sure.
before. Um, when the news came from Seattle today, I thought, you know what? That's the place. It might not be, and
But
this
it's a
is why.
complete different culture. Like his approach versus what Carroll, I mean, that's a
That
culture shift completely.
that could be maybe what they're looking
Especially with
for
Carroll
too.
staying in the organization. That's kind of
That
like,
well, and that's fair because the two of them they didn't get along either
no,
from the USC Stanford days. But I just kind of gave it a thought, and this is why. Because Jim Harbaugh's petty, and I appreciate that about him because I think you and I are got a little bit of that in us too. Um, but I'm like, I know he's not forgotten the way that San Francisco thing went down, right? So what, just like the Wink Martindale, go and coach Philly because you're right down the street. Go
very
coach
true.
Seattle because they're
Very
in the
true.
same division. If not there, I think it's going to be the Chargers. Just
Ooh,
because he's got the quarterback and
I
San Diego.
completely didn't think about that. Yes.
I know they're not San Diego anymore. They're LA, but his Stanford, his San Diego State, right? I think he coached the Aztecs before
Yeah.
Stanford. Um, he played,
Yeah. He's,
yeah,
yeah.
so he's got
Yeah.
some roots there. So possible. We'll
I
see.
like that. I like that. Seattle, I just don't see like you said great memory. He and remember he ran up the
Yeah.
score against USC
Yeah, that
because
didn't go well.
is it well you do it all I I don't see him going there, but the Chargers is a great it didn't even cross my mind.
Yeah.
It didn't. And they can win. They've got talent.
Yeah. They
I
just
don't I
haven't
don't know
been,
what
man, they got
yeah.
Khalil Mack. He was like top three in sacks this year. Like
He had like one of his best years.
yeah, yeah. Like there's an
And
opportunity there. That just
right.
makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
One last thing before we talk about the playoffs quick in our last segment. What I just saw, I just did a really quick glance at the phone. The New Orleans Saints, did you see this?
No.
They are considering bringing in as their offensive coordinator John Gruden, right?
Okay.
We got radio
Okay.
silence. Like that's where all the stuff that came out about what he supposedly said and didn't say when it was with the Raiders and everything else. The fact someone's going to hire him, one thing, but two, to come in as an OC, and it's because of his connection with Derek Carr, right? So that's going to be interesting to see how that plays out.
I mean, it wouldn't surprise me. I mean, it surprises me that you're bringing it up, but um, I mean, this day and age, if you get desperate enough, or if you want to win,
Yeah,
winning money rules, and quite frankly, the mass public has a short attention span. If you
yeah,
can
it's fair.
witstand the
But
initial outrage,
yeah, it's been 2, 3 years ago.
something else will happen that'll take the attention off you, and then as long as your fan base comes to grips with it, you'll be fine. I mean, it's just it is what it is. As the Homo sapiens that we are, we don't have the capacity to care about something
For too long.
for too long. And fortunately for Gruden, and maybe unfortunate for those who feel hurt by
Yeah, because his stuff
his
wasn't.
existence. Right.
Yeah.
But he'll, yeah, that's very possible. Oh, okay,
Okay.
that's surprising, but eh,
Yeah, we'll see
eh,
what happens. Okay.
yeah,
So let's bring it home with the playoffs. So we've got a full slate. We got 2 games Saturday. We got 3 on Sunday, and then your
yeah.
boys will be playing Monday night in Tampa. So
Mm.
let's do a quick hot take maybe on what we got. Because Saturday, I think we've got the Browns and the Texans, and then we're going to have record-breaking cold in Kansas City as the Miami Dolphins head up north, where the temperature at kickoff is supposed to be 0 degrees on Saturday night. So. Any quick
Yeah,
thoughts on
doesn't bode.
Saturday?
Does it? Yeah, simply put, I think what everyone the cool thing to say is, oh, Miami doesn't have a chance because it's going to be cold. Chiefs have that winning way. They're going to do it. And quite frankly, that is my natural disposition. But um, when someone shows you who they are, you got to believe them.
Mm.
And yes, Kansas City can obviously do what they always do, but they have not looked good all year.
Well, the
I mean, even
Dolphins
when they
haven't
were winning, they
either,
weren't.
though. If we think about it,
They
when they
haven't. They haven't. They haven't. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. This is kind of a, but I safe money. Look, if you're a betting man, as I used to be, I'm taking the Chiefs. However,
however,
shout out to B Webb in Norristown. I'm actually going to go with Miami
that's huge.
uh, to upset Kansas City. I'll tell you why.
Okay.
Both teams' passing games are suspect.
Yeah.
Only one team has a dominant running game. Now, will they actually hand the ball off
Uh,
40
yeah.
times? I don't know. But Miami has a running game. They have running backs, and I know one is out, but they have they just they fall into that's what it is these days. We gotta throw the ball just like the Eagles syndrome. They have to throw the ball. Best offensive line, running backs galore, but we gotta throw the ball 50 times. Like I can't stand it. If they can set the weather, everyone assumes it's going to hurt them. I assume it's going to hurt them,
Mm.
but it could help them if the weather forces them to run the ball. That could be a blessing in disguise. So I'm going to go. Let's throw out a score here. Let's throw out a
Yeah.
score here.
Okay. Uh,
27-24 Dolphins.
Okay. We don't have a Tony Reale as PTI used to have. We got to get stat person on this, but I think there's still an NFL record out there where cold weather teams, when the temperature's below freezing, they don't win in the playoffs. Um, so I'm thinking about that for this game. However, Matt Nagy has not proven himself to be a very good play caller with the Chiefs this year. He certainly wasn't with the Bears. So I'm going to go with that. And Tyreek Hill used to play in
Wow.
Kansas City, right? Tyreek Hill used to
Yeah.
play in Kansas City, so he knows the weather. I'm going to take the Dolphins as well. I think the Dolphins are going to come in and pull that upset. And I
Wow.
believe that the Joe Flacco train is going to continue because of that defense.
I agree.
I think the
I
Texans are
agree.
just, I know you've got an affinity for the Texans too, going back to the Andre Johnson days. Um, right? So,
Yeah, but
um,
now I'm in Northeast Ohio, so and my affinity for the Texans actually once as the owner issues over the
yeah,
years, I actually have dropped off. But just similar to our Alabama
yeah, yeah,
statement earlier. But I'm with you. I'm on the Joe Flacco train here, and that defense, if it steps up, um, which actually has a propensity to not do on the road, although they did do it against um down the stretch here in the last go.
yeah.
Was
We'll
it
s-
against Houston? Didn't they
mm,
just a couple weeks ago?
I'm not sure. I gotta look at that.
Yeah, I think there was when their kicker got hurt. I think that was the Houston
Okay.
game.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm with Cleveland. How about Pittsburgh Buffalo?
I got Buffalo. I think Buffalo's going to win the AFC. I think this is going to be their year. I think they're going to meet up against Baltimore in the AFC Championship, and I think Buffalo's going to get to themselves to the Super Bowl. And the Steelers, they are who
Wow,
they are. They made it awesome, but that offense, they need a quarterback.
sure.
When you've got three quarterbacks, you
Yeah.
certainly don't have one. So,
Yeah. Wow. All right. All
but
right.
you got Packers,
Rams.
Dallas.
Oh, okay. Ah, well, I mean, last week I said, don't be surprised to see Dallas in the Super Bowl. I hate like that. Those words, I can literally taste it coming out of my mouth. I can't stand that team. Um,
I'm with you, and certainly can't stand the Packers, so I'm really conflicted
but
here.
let me say this. Let me say this real quick. I have doubt to answer the question. I have doubts. But and I only say that because I don't trust Green Bay's. If Green Bay had
Yeah,
a better defense, a back end defense, I'm taking them all day because I definitely think that Dallas chokes against the first good secondary, like legit, like or pressure a team that can, and they can. You know what? I want to take
listen,
Green Bay, but I know
The
that's
Packers
biased.
gave up 30 points to the Carolina Panthers like 2, 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, yeah, Cowboys, but I'm gonna stop wasting time. That's wishful thinking.
Okay,
Cowboys,
okay, same.
Cowboys.
Cowboys are undefeated at home. They're at home.
Okay,
Um, yeah, and another reason why the Bears offensive coordinator needed to be dismissed, how you only scored 9 points against them last week.
that's a great
So,
point.
yeah,
I always got to shade whatever you can.
yeah,
All right, now this is the big. I mean, we'll get to the Eagles in a second, but in my opinion, the game of the weekend. I know Kansas City and Miami seems cute, but Los Angeles, Detroit. Los Angeles is trending up,
ooh,
playing better as the year came along. Detroit has played well year round. Um, you've got the quarterbacks, they were traded for each other.
yeah.
They're going against each other. Golf and homecoming for Stafford. Um, so in my betting days, this is something where I put my heart to the side and I say, give me the money line on the Rams because it's like set up for them to come in and be like, you're not ready yet. You're still wet behind the ears. Um,
Yeah.
but I'm going with Detroit. They have played non-Detroit ball the entire year. They've come back from big deficits in the fourth quarter. They haven't given things away. They haven't missed extra points or field goals from point blank range to somehow lose a game. They've been nothing like any Detroit team I've ever seen. And this might be a first, right? That Hard Knocks team does
That's
gets this
right.
far. I'm going with Detroit, and I think they send a message. I think it's like a 41-7 drubbing Detroit. How about you? What say you?
I'm going to pick the Rams just because they're healthy. With Detroit losing Sam Laporta, right, their tight end.
Yeah,
I think
big
that,
loss.
yeah, that's a huge loss. They should have lost twice to the Bears, so let's add that to it as well.
Here we go.
Just saying, right? Every time there's a Bears reference, y'all, whatever you want to do, just like folks do for pardon the interruption. Again, Wilbon Kornheiser, much love. I think it really comes down to that, and I think people have really overlooked the Rams. They won 10 games this year. The Rams, they won 10 games, and that offense is solid. They've got new wide receivers, right? They got the rookie out there. I think I think Matt Stafford and the Rams are gonna come in, and I think they're gonna win. I would like to see Detroit win. I really would. I just think with Laporta being out, I think the Rams are going to come out of there with a win. Again, Kutztown love, right? We got Craig Reynolds up at Detroit. It would be great to see them win for
Yes,
that
sir.
too. So
And Holy Cross love. They've got the returner. Oh, sorry.
It's okay.
Name skipping me.
We'll
But
dig it
there,
up.
oh man,
We'll,
I can
we'll
see
dig it
his
up.
face right now. Yeah. But much love to I'm with you. I see your point. I do think Detroit is the antithesis of everything we've spoken about in terms of coordinators and create them being creative in how they draw up plays and attack, and unless we forget how they've got to be hungry and PO'd after that Dallas ending, and
Yeah,
like it's
that's
it's just, and for them to
that's
still come
hard.
back and do what they did, I'm telling you, they can make a run.
I
They
think
can
so
make a run.
too. I'm just that Laporta injury, I think, is going to be tough. But they still got an amazing running game. David Montgomery is looking really good. So, all right, let's bring it home with this one. Let's bring it home with the last
Khalif
game.
Raymond,
Oh, okay. Nice.
Holy
Nice.
Cross,
Good pull there. And our
Crusaders.
sources did
I
confirm that Ryan
looked it up.
Tannehill did start his college career as a wide receiver. So good call out there.
Absolutely.
So let's bring it home with the Philadelphia Eagles traveling to warm and sunny and probably rainy, I'm going to guess, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I think that this is setting up perfect for the Eagles. A revenge game is going to be on the horizon if they win. Tampa's a great team to be able to get good with. So I'm picking the Eagles. However, if the Eagles lose this, I'm not going to be surprised if everybody's fired. But what you got? Bring us home. That look says,
I'm going to pick the Eagles. This isn't my
is this
homerism.
Richie Cote 2.0?
Man, please don't bring that name up. Ah, it certainly feels like it.
Ray
But listen,
Rhodes? Like, what are we doing?
here's where
Ray Rhodes.
I have
Right?
to
Yeah.
imagine if yeah, Ray Road. If you are in the world of football for as long and dedicated a time that these coaches are, I know the players, but these coaches too, this is their life. There's no way they feel okay with losing or putting out a poor
Yeah.
performance or anything like that. So I know that they have to want it as bad or more than us fans. I know that. It may not seem like it,
Yeah.
the product may not, but I know that. If ever their best effort was going to be on display, it is going to be for this game. They know their jobs are at stake. They know the talent they were dealt. They know they're going up
Yeah.
against a team that they
On
played
paper.
and for all intents and purposes dominated. I think it was
Hmm.
a Monday night game, if I'm not mistaken. It might have been Sunday night. It was an evening game, it's a
Oh, that's
primetime
right.
game.
That was earlier in the season.
And the only reason why it wasn't a bigger, a blowout was because we wouldn't run the ball. We run the
Yeah.
ball. I know I had Swift in two fantasy leagues. Run the ball. You run about 50
Perfect.
yards down, and now we want to throw it 75 times, and then
Hmm.
go forward on 4th and 2 and hand it off the shotgun to Gainwell for some reason. Like let's take Swift. I digress.
Keep it going.
So,
I'm here for it
I'm
all, by
telling
the
you,
way.
like this is it, bro. This is it. And here's the problem. You know what the problem with the Eagles are?
Talk to me. Talk to me.
That they have to put pride aside, ego aside, because what you said um um about the offense is not
Hmm.
being, need to be more flashy. That the old school, the Vrabel complex
Yep.
is not what's wanted. It's not good enough to win. You
Right.
have to win and do it a certain way. You have to be attractive to the slinging, run and gun, offensive 65% passing game. That's what they want now.
Yep.
And so that's what these offensive coordinators are trying to do. That's how they're going to get their next head coaching job.
They
And
got to show
so
that they can do that. Yeah.
you have a great offensive line. You have a deep backfield that includes a Rashad Penny who never touches the ball. You have and a Boston Scott and Ken
Keep
Gainwell
it going.
and DeAndre Swift.
Y'all feeling
You
this?
have a line that can't be stopped for 1 yard with a quarterback. What do you think if you just handed off to these four running backs every other play? Hand off the ball. You want job security? Win first. That'll be job security. Because if you go out and we throw the ball for 500 yards and we lose, you're still getting fired, Chief. So run the ball. Forget about ego and pride and putting up these stats. Run the ball, and we will
Ball.
dominate and win. And I have to imagine that that's what the family's telling them this break this week that they had to think about. And so the birds are coming out. I don't think they're going to make it easy. I do think it's going to be sloppy, but they'll pull it out. They'll find a way. I'm saying 30, 37. No, that defense is still suspect. 30,
It is, unfortunately.
30, 30-27.
Okay, so you got it
30-27.
close. You got it close.
Well, I don't know how they play it. It could be one of those games that aren't close until the end, but
Okay.
yeah, I do think it's going to be a one possession game just because now I'm sure there are Tampa Bay fans sitting on their end saying this offense can't score on,
Yeah.
my baby cousins, but I know what I've seen, and I know that the Eagles find a way to keep the other team in the game. And if their idea of game planning is anything like what I just saw against in Week 18 against the Giants, it's going to be very difficult for talent to overcome that. So I'm going to
Okay.
say 30-27 Birds. What do you got?
Okay, listen, so I'm going to back up really quick. You're correct. Again, our stats folks here working. The Browns did beat the Texans just a couple of weeks ago, 36-22, I think. But I do
Yeah,
believe CJ Stroud was out that game. So we'll see how
yeah,
this
but
goes.
Flacco also threw for almost 300 yards in the first half. He
Yeah,
threw for
yeah,
like 250 or something.
yeah.
And
So
Amari Cooper, who's going to play now, even though he's hurt,
yeah,
also went off. So
yeah. So that'll be interesting. Eagles wise, yeah, 25-11. First time y'all matched up. I just did a really quick scan. What's the weather supposed to be like in Tampa on Monday night? Rain. Thunderstorms. Looks like it's going to be in the
good.
70s. So it's going to be sloppy. Listen,
Run it.
I'm cheering for Sirianni, right? Had the pleasure of running into him a couple times last year, spending time with him at the Maxwell Awards. Um, personally, I'm cheering for him. I want him to do well. And like I said before, I think they're going to get right with Tampa. I would like to see Baker Mayfield be successful. I just don't think it's this year. Hopefully they keep him and they keep building because I think he can be successful. He just needs to be supported. I think the Eagles are going to come out. I think they're going to finally get A.J. Brown the ball a little bit. They're going to run, hopefully implement a little play action. And let's go with the 28-10. I think it's going to be overwhelming.
Mm,
I just don't think Tampa, I mean, they won 9-0 against Carolina.
yeah.
9-0. Carolina didn't want to win because
And they needed to win that game.
yeah, 9-0.
Yeah.
So I think Philly's going to get healthy in a lot of ways, psychologically, physically, and they're going to be
Let's
set up
hope.
to be able to play probably, depending on how everything else goes, they might get that matchup against San Fran. So it just depends on how the
I
season.
want that. Listen, don't get me wrong. If we need a win and we need to win a certain way and the ball get rolling, no one's going to want to see that. Like I want that. I want the
Yeah.
road. I
It,
want that road. I mean, obviously it's easy to come back to bite me, but
yeah.
I want San Fran.
It depends on the seeds, right? Because if Dallas and Detroit win, but if the Rams pull out an upset, it just depends on how everything kind of breaks
Right.
there. But we'll
Yeah.
see. So this was a full show, everyone. We know we went long, but there was so much to cover. We got the national championship tournament. We got coaches moving in and out of the NFL. We got Saban retiring. We got the playoffs. We didn't even talk about the NBA. We'll get to that during our show
Mm.
next week. We're excited to have a guest during our next episode. We're going to have Brian Webster join us. He's going to talk a little bit about the Dolphins with us, a fan hot take, and then also talk with us about some of the amazing work he's doing down in Norristown with some of the youth football work down there. Just amazing work. So salute to B Web and Pito, bring us home.
Yeah, I just want everyone to obviously enjoy this MLK weekend. Um,
Salute.
make it a day on, not a day off, if you can. Find something to do in your community. If you can't get out or whatnot, find a young one or someone that um, could potentially see you as a mentor
Mhm.
and just give them some positive guidance push. That's kind of the theme we're going with when we bring in Coach Webster. See what he's doing out there. It's on us. It's some scary times out there, folks. And so let's start with our own community. So that's off of sports, but sports is usually a foundation, a home for mentorship and things of that nature. And that's my favorite part of it. So
Truth.
um, that's all I've got.
Love it.
Great spending time with you. Thanks for sticking around for this elongated version. But when you got chips, you know it is what it is. So great seeing you all again and look forward to that next one.
Great show. Peace and love, everyone.
Absolutely.